providing the kind of recreational cannabis use that can not only make you feel good, but be healthier. Please welcome Terry Donnelly.
Had to switch microphones back there.
Well done.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you to Grow Up for allowing us the opportunity to tell the story of what we believe, our particular take on the cannabis industry and why we believe a big part of the future of cannabis is actually beverages. And so I'd just like to share a little bit of our approach. We can get the deck up on the screen.
Well done, kid. Going alcohol-free has its benefits. Challenge yourself. Check out hillstreetchallenge.com. Cheers to a better you.
You want to get high? Don't push it, kid.
So that ad was part of a campaign that we ran last January, which was the Hill Street Challenge, going 30 days without alcohol. And ultimately it speaks to a growing trend that's happening across the world, where consumers these days are looking for alternatives to alcohol. They're looking for ways to reduce their alcohol consumption, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why we're looking for these alternatives. So as a company, we actually are building our business to look at cannabis and to look at alternatives to alcohol as an alternative. It's a way to disrupt the alcohol industry, which hasn't been disrupted in literally thousands of years. So while other organizations are looking at different delivery systems for cannabis, we're looking at creating the best dried flower, we're basically approaching it saying, there's an opportunity to give consumers something that they're looking for, and cannabis provides a real opportunity for us to give the consumer that alternative to alcohol that they're seeking. I want to give you a little bit of an overview on some of the parallels that exist between cannabis and alcohol and why we believe the alcohol industry is disrupting. Obviously, we all know that cannabis has tremendous market potential, that the opportunity for this plant covers not just dried flower and oils and pre-rolls, those kinds of things, but goes across multiple categories, multiple industries. There's, the global legalization of cannabis is truly a once-in-a-lifetime event, and it is a trend that will happen right around the planet over the course of the next decade. And what we discovered, while there's a lot of talk about cannabis as a therapy or as a treatment for various ailments that we all live through, the vast majority of consumption of cannabis is actually due to recreation. So when we look at the use of cannabis and the ways, the use cases, the occasions, how consumers are using cannabis, why they're using it, what they're using it for, what time of day, those occasions are all, generally speaking, recreationally or socially driven. And they weren't really therapeutic in nature. And there's a huge percentage of the population that currently use cannabis as an alternative to alcohol. When you look at the intoxicants that exist in our society, beverages are really the only socially acceptable intoxicant. And so it's something we can do around the dinner table. Smoking and vaping is something that you do have to do really relegated to the back alley. Right? It's not something that's done in restaurants and bars. It's something you have to do out on the street, if your municipality allows it. And if you look at all of the other intoxicant categories that exist, again, they're not really things that from a social standpoint have the degree of acceptability that beverages provide. So when we look at the size of the beverage marketplace relative to the size of what we believe the cannabis industry is going to be, there's just a massive opportunity for disruption that exists, and an already significant percentage of consumers that have demonstrated that they would try this, that they're looking for these kinds of alternatives. And what beverages would they replace if they were given the opportunity for a cannabis-infused beverage? What is the format, what is the style of product that they would most likely replace it with? And so when you see the size and scale of the alcohol industry and the opportunity for cannabis to grab a significant amount of that share, the economics start to make a pretty compelling business case. When you also look at where consumers are now, they're already looking and they're already seeking these healthier alternatives to beverages. In July, in the United States, according to EC Nielsen, White Claw outsold Budweiser. And White Claw is a hard seltzer. And the reason why consumers are drinking White Claw, and they're drinking spiked seltzers, it's the fastest growing alcoholic beverage category on the planet, is because they're very, very few calories. That's the number one driver. Calorie reduction is the number one driver for choosing hard seltzers versus beer. And the second thing about those products is that they're gender neutral. Historically, beer was marketed to the boys and wine was marketed to the girls. And so when you're looking at these neutral products, they're actually equally split across gender, with positioning and consumption being equally shared. Health is the number 2 concern after income for consumers. So, we all want to make a living, but right after that, we're all concerned about our health. So when you actually look at and you start to see the negative attributes of alcohol being promoted by thought leaders and influencers, and you have now the World Health Organization and various, experts in the marketplace from a medical and health standpoint, they're all pointing to the negative attributes of alcohol and its negative impact on our health. And so that creates a driver for consumers to want to look for something that gives them that healthier alternative. So when we looked at all of the different formats that we thought we could enter, we believed that adult format was the best way. So not coffee, not tea, not juices, and not sugary sodas. We believe that all of those formats have an appeal, they all have a place, but the shortest journey for the consumer to take, that journey from what they are doing now to where we'd like to see them go, that to us was wine, beer, and spirits. And so when you look at those formats, they automatically deselect minors. They automatically mirror social rituals. When was the last time you went to any kind of social occasion where there weren't beverages available? Literally every beverage, every social occasion that we engage in, there's a beverage available of some kind. And when there's an intoxicant involved, it's an alcoholic beverage. And so we want to give consumers something that tastes, looks, smells, feels like what they're comfortable consuming already, and has the same degree of intoxication that comes from that format. When you look at what's happening in the industry, we're not the only ones that are pursuing this strategy. And when you look at the amount of money that's been invested already in the very early days before the category isn't even open for business, you're looking at billions of dollars. It's already been put on the table by beverage companies. And so when you look at the joint ventures that have been created, that's just the table stakes to get into the marketplace. There's still the whole groundswell of building brands, of acquiring consumers, of creating products, launching them, getting distribution, making the products available. And when you start to look at the regulatory framework that exists for these kinds of products, when you look at the government who's responsible for allowing the category to exist, are they going to have consumption lounges that allow smoking? Or will the consumption lounge be focused on other non-smoking forms, such as solid edibles or beverages? And so the consumption lounge is likely going to be centered around the same kind of thing that bars and restaurants are built around. So there's a huge amount of investment that's going to come from billion-dollar brands, billion-dollar companies, especially in beverages, to build and create this category. And we're only just seeing the beginning of it. And none of those companies, with one exception being Lagunitas, none of them have invested in the US. They're all looking at Canada as the petri dish for the world. And this is why we believe this is the right time and place to invest our efforts in building a beverage brand with cannabis. And one of the other elements that we're doing is we basically created a portfolio of alcohol-free brands, believing that you can't have, the regulators already said you can't have 2 stimulants in one product. So you can't have alcohol and cannabis in the same product. So if you're going to pursue creating an adult format beverage that has cannabis in it, it first has to be an alcohol-free beverage. So if you're going to make wine or beer, which are the two most popular categories, beer being 40% of market and wine being about 30%, you've got to create alcohol-free wine and beer as the precursor to creating a cannabis-infused product. So we went down that path first, believing that consumers will choose taste and then experience as the primary criteria for brand choice. And so we launched a portfolio of alcohol-free brands. And it wasn't just a marketing strategy, it's actually a great business to be in. So when you look at these numbers, these are extraordinary numbers in a category that's growing like this around the world. You now see alcohol-free beer in places like Germany and Spain that are around 20% of the total marketplace. And so we think that those categories are not a niche, and they're the direct precursor to be able to find a way to integrate cannabis into those formats and give consumers that alternative that they're looking for. Canadian edibles are launching in December. The category becomes legal in October, and they've basically created a series of regulations that you must follow. So the limit of 5 to 10 milligrams in any infused product, and it gets really kind of interesting because you have a whole other layer around the carry limit of infused liquids. You can purchase a maximum of 2.1 liters of an infused liquid. So that's roughly, 2 bottles of wine and 1 beer. Then if you take a beer, which may have 5 to 10 milligrams in a single beer, but if you take that beer and put it in a 6-pack, the 6-pack can only have 10 milligrams. Right? So you have to then de-segment out your 10 milligrams across the 6 different beer that are in your 6-pack. So there's a flurry of regulations that have come in. They've literally just been published in their final form, which is, for now. And so we believe that we've got a format and a technology that allows us to produce products that consumers will enjoy, that work for people, that give them the kind of intoxication you would get from having a single alcoholic beverage, the same level, within this format, within these regulatory restrictions. One of the main ingredients in that is our partnership with a company called Lexaria. Lexaria is the R&D firm that developed the infusion technology that we use. We have a global agreement with them, so we have the ability to scale our brand portfolio with them around the world. It's really a fantastic platform for us to be able to use because it essentially bypasses the liver. It allows us to provide an onset of around 2 to 5 minutes and an intoxication curve that lasts for about 90 minutes. So we've essentially mimicked the intoxication form, that experience of time and duration that comes with alcohol consumption. So we've matched that, and with the dosage level that the government has established, this technology works quite effectively to be able to mirror those intoxication requirements. So we've built essentially a structure that includes sourcing world-class wine and craft products, craft beer, bringing those products into our infusion facility, running them through the process, infusing the product. We've got a partnership in place with Lifford Cannabis. Lifford is one of the preeminent alcohol distributors that launched into the cannabis space a couple of years ago. And so we've basically got the end-to-end process mirroring what is very similar to the way that the alcohol industry works. About 50% of the craft beer in Canada is actually produced by co-packers. It's not produced by the brewery whose name is on the can. And so that model exists in wine and beer. We're replicating that model and bringing our tech platform and our capabilities as a marketer and brand builder with sales and distribution as our real primary core competency. The second piece is that we have a number of partnerships with medical research organizations who've actually opted to partner with us to promote to their stakeholders, make the switch. Go alcohol-free, or if you're going to choose an intoxicant, choose a cannabis intoxicant, because ultimately those products will be better for you than the alcoholic version. As I said, we've already built this platform. We've actually won 4 world championships since we launched our brands, three for beer and one for wine, including the only time a non-alcoholic wine has won a double gold medal in the San Francisco International Wine Challenge, which is probably the biggest wine competition in the world. So very proud of the ability to focus on creating great tasting products that meet that taste and experience requirement that consumers have. And we already have distribution for those brands across the country. We have literally thousands of grocery and drugstores that our products exist in, and that's building our brand for ultimately when the cannabis infused products hit the marketplace. So hopefully consumers will draw the connection between this product here and this one over here, which tastes identical, which gives you the intoxication you get from cannabis. One of the other attributes that we chose to do was we actually acquired a cannabis company called One Leaf. So One Leaf is a premium craft grower. We believe the same attributes that create terroir for wine, like the ability to have a very limited supply that comes from an expert grower that's in a particular geography, that gives us the ability to speak about the terroir of the cannabis that applies also with the craft beer or the wine. So ultimately our goal is to be able to provide cultivars of cannabis that you can only find in our beverages or in our dried flower or oils. So we'll have a full spectrum of cannabis products. We have about 600 unique cultivars that are not commercially available in Canada that we'll be able to offer, which we think will give consumers another reason to choose our products. And so in summary, what we believe is that we've got a proven platform of beverages that have already sold millions of units. The alcohol-free products are already accepted by consumers. It's not tastes or flavors that we have to figure out. We've already got what we believe are winning products. We have a market-proven infusion technology that's in the US, already in 8 or 9 states, that's working, that's getting great reviews from consumers. And that we've got a whole array of benefits, when compared to alcohol, that we believe will be a disruptive force. And the other thing that, when you look at where the market is going, and a lot of people, look at beverages in the US, and they say, I don't think beverages are going to be big because, in California, they're not that big. Well, if you go to any of the states where recreational beverages are available, most of them are still treated by consumers as a novelty. You're looking at products that are a beer for $9 to $14 in a retail store. And nobody's going to buy a case of that when they go home. So from our standpoint, we want to be able to create products that are priced like alcohol, that deliver the same taste and flavor as alcohol, that deliver the same intoxicating experience as alcohol that you can use in any social occasion. And that's one of the reasons why we believe this particular strategy helps create a whole opportunity to win new consumers over to this category and give them a real alternative to alcoholic beverages. That's it for me.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Wow, really good.
Thank you.